When we talk about love in a relationship, we often think of affection, connection, and emotional support. But for many husbands, love is felt most deeply through respect. A man doesn't just want to be loved, he wants to be valued. He wants to know that his efforts matter, that he's making a meaningful contribution to the life you're building together. And it's easy to miss this because men and women often speak different emotional languages. You might think you're showing love in every way possible, but if he doesn't feel trusted, appreciated, or admired, he may quietly feel unseen. It's not because he doesn't care, it's because he's wired to seek respect as the ultimate sign of love. When you acknowledge his strengths, when you trust his decisions, even when they're imperfect, when you let him lead in the ways he knows how, you're giving him a gift far deeper than praise. You're telling him, I believe in you. And belief fuels a man's heart more than any compliment ever could. Sometimes your husband will grow quiet. He may retreat into himself, into his work, or into thought. And in those moments, it's tempting to worry, to press for answers, or to assume distance means disinterest. But for many men, silence isn't absence, it's processing. It's how they wrestle with the world, how they make sense of their burdens. Respect his quiet. Trust that he will come back to you, not because you demanded it, but because you held space for him to return on his own terms. Every man wants to feel needed, not just wanted. It's a distinction that's subtle on the surface, but powerful at the core. Being wanted feels good. It's flattering, it makes him feel desired, appreciated. But being needed gives him a deeper sense of purpose. It answers a question that every man carries quietly inside. Do I matter here? Am I essential to this relationship, to this family, to this life we're building together? When a man feels needed, he doesn't just feel useful, he feels significant. He feels like his presence makes a difference, like he's filling a role no one else can fill. And that sense of responsibility, that sense of importance, fuels him. It pushes him to show up, to protect, to provide, to lead, to serve. It calls him to rise into his better self, not out of obligation, but out of love. He's not just checking boxes, he's living out a mission. When a man feels merely wanted, when he feels like he's only there to meet surface-level desires or temporary needs, he can start to drift. Not always physically, but emotionally. He may begin to wonder where he really fits, because the truth is, desire can fade. Attraction changes, feelings shift with seasons, but being needed, that taps into something timeless, something deeper than the highs and lows of passion. And here's the part many people miss. Needing a man doesn't mean becoming dependent or weak. It doesn't mean sacrificing your strength or self-sufficiency. In fact, it's the opposite. It's about partnership. It's about saying, I can do this on my own, but I choose to do it with you because your presence makes it better, stronger, fuller. That's the kind of need that honors both people without diminishing either. For a man, nothing affirms his worth more than knowing he's irreplaceable in the eyes of the woman he loves. Not because she can't survive without him, but because she believes in him, trusts him, counts on him. She turns to him, not out of desperation, but out of deep respect for what he brings to the table. And in that space, he steps fully into who he's meant to be. He stops holding back. He stops second-guessing. He shows up, heart first, hands open, ready to give everything he has. But when that need disappears, or when it's replaced by indifference, criticism, or constant comparison, something in him shuts down. He may keep going through the motions, but the spark dims. He begins to wonder if he's really seen, really valued. And that quiet questioning can lead to frustration, resentment, or emotional distance. Because no man wants to feel like an accessory in his own relationship. He wants to know he's a cornerstone. The beautiful thing is, showing a man he's needed doesn't take grand gestures. It's in the small things. It's asking for his advice even when you already have an idea. It's leaning on his strength, not because you're incapable, but because you honor what he offers. It's letting him protect even when you feel strong. It's saying, I trust you to handle this. It's thanking him for the ways he shows up, even if they don't look flashy or romantic. When you tell a man, I need you, you're not saying you're helpless. You're saying this journey wouldn't be the same without you. You're not just along for the ride, you're helping steer the ship. That affirmation builds something powerful between two people. It creates loyalty. It deepens intimacy. It fosters a trust that no storm can shake. Every man wants to feel needed, not because he's insecure, but because he's wired to protect, to provide, to stand in the gap. And when you honor that desire, not by making yourself small, but by welcoming his strength, you give him the chance to rise, not just for you, but for himself. Because at the end of the day, love that lasts isn't built on fleeting wants. It's built on enduring need. And when a man knows he's needed, he doesn't just stay, he thrives. Respect speaks louder than love in a man's world. It's not that love doesn't matter. Of course it does. Every man wants to be loved. But if he doesn't feel respected, the love doesn't reach him the way it was intended. Respect is the channel through which love flows into a man's heart. Without it, love can feel shallow, conditional, or even hollow. Many women express love through nurturing, affection, and emotional connection, but for a man, love is often experienced through respect, through trust in his decisions, belief in his abilities, acknowledgement of his efforts. When a man feels respected by the woman he loves, he stands taller, he feels capable, he feels safe. Respect tells him, I see the man you are, and I honor that. And for many men, that message is more powerful than any declaration of love. It's easy to forget this difference, especially in moments of frustration or conflict. It's tempting to correct him, challenge him, question him in ways that might feel natural or even necessary. But how those words are delivered makes all the difference. If a man feels disrespected, if he feels belittled, dismissed, or criticized in a way that undermines his competence, he shuts down. Not because he doesn't care, but because his deepest need has been wounded. Respect doesn't mean blind agreement or silent submission. It doesn't mean ignoring flaws or avoiding difficult conversations. It means communicating in a way that preserves his dignity, even when addressing weaknesses or mistakes. It's saying, I believe in you, even when you mess up. I still see the strength in you, even when you falter. So that's the kind of respect that builds trust. That's the kind of respect that empowers a man to keep growing, to keep trying, to keep showing up. Many men have been conditioned to measure their worth by their achievements, their ability to provide, their strength under pressure. And while we can challenge those definitions, they're still deeply ingrained. When a man's efforts are met with criticism or constant correction, it cuts deeper than it may appear. It doesn't just feel like feedback, it feels like failure, like he's not enough. And in those moments, he may pull away, emotionally or physically, because the very place he hoped to feel strong has become a place where he feels small. But when a man feels respected, even in his imperfections, something shifts. He feels safe to be vulnerable. He feels permission to be human. Respect creates an environment where he doesn't have to constantly prove himself to earn love. Instead, he feels love through the respect he's given. He feels love in the trust you place in him, the space you allow him to lead, the gratitude you show for his efforts, even the imperfect ones. It's not about inflating his ego or putting him on a pedestal. It's about recognizing the unique way men internalize value. Just as women often need to feel cherished, seen, and emotionally connected, men need to feel respected, trusted, and affirmed. When that respect is missing, love alone can't fill the void. But when respect is present, love takes root and grows deeper. You show respect in the way you speak to him, especially in public. You show respect in the way you listen to his ideas, even if you disagree. You show respect in the way you allow him to solve problems, to take responsibility, to carry weight without constantly being second-guessed. You show respect when you say, I trust you to handle this. Those small choices build a man's confidence. They communicate love in a language he instinctively understands. Respect speaks louder than love in a man's world because it reaches a part of him that love alone can't always touch. It honors his role, his efforts, his unique contribution to the relationship. And when a man feels respected, he doesn't just feel loved, he feels worthy of love. He doesn't just want to stay, he wants to serve, to protect, to lead, to give his best. In the end, love and respect aren't opposites. They're partners. But for a man, respect is often the doorway through which love enters. And when you walk through that door with him, you don't just win his heart, you win his loyalty, his strength, and his deepest devotion. A husband's silence is not absence, it's processing. This is one of the most misunderstood dynamics in a relationship. When a man grows quiet, when he withdraws into himself, it's easy to assume the worst. It's easy to think he's shutting you out, losing interest, or emotionally disconnecting, but more often than not, his silence isn't about pulling away from you. It's about turning inward to sort through what he's feeling, what he's carrying, and what he's trying to resolve on his own terms. Men are often taught from a young age that emotions are to be managed quietly, privately, and efficiently. Many grow up believing that sharing their struggles openly makes them weak, or that speaking their fears aloud somehow gives those fears more power. So when life throws challenges their way, whether it's stress at work, financial pressure, family responsibilities, or personal doubts, they instinctively retreat into a mental space where they can figure things out alone. It's not rejection, it's survival. It's the way they've learned to stay steady under pressure. But for many women, silence feels like distance. Women are often more comfortable processing emotions through conversation, through connection, through talking things out. So when a husband goes quiet, it can feel like a door has been closed. It can feel like intimacy is being blocked, like the bond is weakening. And that's where misunderstanding creeps in, not because either person is wrong, but because they're speaking different emotional languages. Here's the truth. A husband's silence doesn't mean he doesn't trust you. It doesn't mean he doesn't want to share. It means he's trying to make sense of something before he brings it to you. He's trying to protect you from his inner turmoil until he's ready to put it into words. In his mind, he's sparing you from the chaos he's still sorting through. And for many men, that's an act of love, even if it doesn't look like love from the outside. In those moments, the best gift you can give him is patience, space, the quiet trust that says, I know you'll come back when you're ready. Pressuring him to talk before he's processed may only push him deeper into retreat. Interpreting his silence as disinterest or rejection can unintentionally build walls where he was hoping for understanding. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you ignore your own needs for connection, but it means recognizing that sometimes love looks like waiting. Sometimes love looks like holding space for him to work through his battles in his own way. And when he sees that you haven't rushed to assumptions, that you haven't criticized his quiet, that you've trusted his process, he's more likely to open up. Not out of obligation, but out of the safety you've created. Every man wants to feel strong in the eyes of the woman he loves, and sometimes silence is his way of preserving that image while he's wrestling with doubts or fears. It's not because he wants to hide. It's because he wants to be able to offer you answers, solutions, clarity, things he can't give if he's still tangled in confusion. By giving him room to process, you're allowing him to return as the man he wants to be, steady, grounded, prepared. This doesn't mean you should ignore unhealthy patterns of emotional withdrawal. Silence used as a weapon or an escape is different from silence used for reflection. But most of the time, it's not avoidance. It's just a different rhythm. And learning to honor that rhythm strengthens the trust between you. It tells him, I don't need to control how you work through this. I just need to know that when you're ready, you'll come back. A husband's silence is not absence. It's not indifference. It's not failure to communicate. It's his way of finding his footing so he can continue to stand beside you. And when you understand that, you don't have to fear the quiet. You can meet it with confidence, patience, and love, knowing that even in silence, he's still choosing you. Men want to be heroes, even in the mundane. It's easy to imagine heroism as something dramatic, saving lives, fighting battles, making grand sacrifices. But for most men, the desire to be a hero doesn't play out on a grand stage. It shows up in the quiet corners of everyday life. It shows up in the way they fix things without being asked, in the way they carry burdens without complaint, in the way they quietly make sure that people they love are safe, secure, and cared for. Every man carries deep in his heart a question he rarely speaks aloud. Am I enough? Am I strong enough, capable enough, worthy enough to be the man they need me to be? And the answer he hopes to hear isn't always found in words. It's found in the way you see him, the way you lean on him, the way you acknowledge what he does, especially the small things that often go unnoticed. Being a hero in the mundane doesn't mean chasing perfection. It doesn't mean he's trying to be flawless or invincible. It means he wants to make a difference, even if it's something as simple as getting the oil changed, fixing a leaky faucet, or picking up dinner on his way home from work. These acts might look ordinary, but to him, they're expressions of love. They're ways of saying, I'm here, I'm contributing, I'm playing my part. The challenge is that in the busyness of life, it's easy to overlook these moments. It's easy to miss the quiet ways a man steps up, the subtle ways he takes responsibility, the unspoken ways he tries to carry the load. And when those efforts go unnoticed or unappreciated, something inside him begins to shrink. He may never say it aloud, but recognition matters. It's not about ego. It's about knowing that what he's doing counts for something. Many men aren't looking for applause or grand gestures of gratitude. They're looking for the simple acknowledgement that their contributions matter. A thank you, a nod of appreciation, a moment where you pause and say, I see what you did there, and I value it. That's the fuel that keeps him going. That's what makes him feel like a hero, even without a cape, even without an audience. It's easy to underestimate how much courage it takes to be consistent, to keep showing up, to keep doing the small things over and over without fanfare, without being asked. But that's where true heroism lives. In the ordinary, repeated acts of devotion that build a life, a home, a future. And when you see those acts for what they are, when you call them out and honor them, you're not just appreciating what he does, you're affirming who he is. Every man wants to believe he's making a meaningful contribution. He wants to feel needed, trusted, relied upon. And when you give him opportunity to step into that role, not because you're incapable, but because you value what he brings, you're giving him the chance to rise into his own strength. You're giving him space to be the hero he wants to be. It's not about feeding pride. It's about feeding purpose. It's about recognizing that within every man is a longing to protect, to provide, to serve in ways that matter. And when you honor that longing, you draw out his best self. You create a relationship where he doesn't have to compete to be seen. He already knows he's seen. He already knows he matters. Men want to be heroes, not just in big, dramatic ways, but in the quiet, ordinary rhythms of daily life. And when you recognize those moments, when you let him know that his efforts aren't invisible, you give him something powerful, the confidence to keep showing up again and again. For you, for your family, for the life you're building together. Criticism cuts deeper than you think. It's easy to overlook the impact words can have, especially when they come from a place of frustration or concern. We often think of criticism as a tool for improvement, a necessary step in growth. But the truth is, when criticism is delivered in a way that feels harsh or dismissive, it can leave lasting wounds. And these wounds don't always heal the way we expect. They fester quietly beneath the surface and can erode trust, connection, and even a person's self-worth. This is especially true in relationships where the stakes are high. When someone you love criticizes you, it feels different than when it comes from an outsider. It's not just about the words. It's about the intent, the history, and the emotional bond that holds you together. For many, the most painful criticisms are those that feel personal. They go beyond actions and touch on deeper vulnerabilities. They say, you're not enough. You're failing. Even if the words aren't meant to wound, they can be received that way. What often gets lost in the moment is that criticism can feel like rejection. It can trigger feelings of inadequacy, self-doubt, and insecurity. When you criticize someone you love, you're not just pointing out a flaw. You're telling them that something about their core, who they are as a person, isn't measuring up. That can be a hard pill to swallow, no matter how constructive the intent may be. Many people, especially men, carry the weight of wanting to protect, to provide, to be seen as strong and capable. Criticism, even when it's framed as helpful, can chip away at that image. It doesn't always matter if it's deserved. When criticism is harsh or comes at a vulnerable moment, it can feel like a failure, a sign that they're not measuring up to the expectations placed on them, not just by others, but by themselves. And when that sense of failure lingers, it can create distance. It can cause a person to withdraw, emotionally or physically, because they begin to believe that they can't win. They can't meet the mark. So it's important to recognize that criticism, when not delivered thoughtfully, can create a cycle of insecurity. When someone feels constantly criticized, they may begin to expect failure, even before they try. They may second-guess themselves, hesitant to take risks, or show up with full confidence. In relationships, this can lead to an erosion of intimacy, because if one partner feels constantly judged, they may stop sharing their thoughts, their fears, and their hopes. They stop being vulnerable, and vulnerability is the very thing that strengthens bonds. However, criticism isn't inherently bad. Constructive criticism, when delivered with care, understanding, and respect, can help people grow. But the key lies in how it's communicated. When criticism comes with empathy, when it's clear that the intent is to help and not to tear down, it becomes a tool for growth. It says, I see your potential. I know you can do better, and I want to help you get there. This kind of criticism, paired with encouragement, helps people rise. It motivates them to improve, not out of fear, but out of a desire to meet the expectations of someone they trust. The difference between criticism that builds and criticism that hurts often comes down to timing, tone, and context. A moment of frustration is not the best time to address sensitive issues. If criticism is always delivered in the heat of the moment, it can feel like an attack rather than a chance for improvement. And if it's never paired with appreciation or acknowledgement of effort, it can seem like an indictment on the person, not just the action. If you want to build stronger relationships, take care with your words. Recognize that the people you love are sensitive to how they're seen and valued. Criticism may be necessary from time to time, but it's crucial to deliver it with kindness, understanding, and a focus on growth, not on breaking down. When you choose to build up rather than tear down, you create an environment where trust thrives and where both partners can feel free to grow without fear of being crushed under the weight of harsh judgment. Criticism cuts deeper than you think, but when it's used wisely, it can help strengthen relationships, build confidence, and inspire positive change. The way we give it and receive it determines its impact. Let's choose our words with care, knowing the power they hold. His desires are simple but not shallow. At first glance, it may seem like men want the basics: respect, love, appreciation, simple things that don't seem too complicated. But when you dig a little deeper, you realize that these desires are anything but shallow. They represent the core of what a man truly seeks in his relationship and in his life. These desires aren't just about surface level wants. They speak to the heart of his identity, his sense of worth, and his emotional well-being. Respect is one of the most fundamental desires a man has, and it's often misunderstood. It's not just about feeling admired for what he does, but about being recognized for who he is. A man doesn't just want to be told good job for his achievements. He wants to feel like the person he is, the man he is valued. When he feels disrespected, it cuts deeper than most women may realize. It doesn't just feel like criticism. It feels like rejection of his very self. He wants to know that his strengths, his efforts, his individuality are seen and appreciated. This respect is the foundation of his emotional security. Without it, even the strongest of men can feel fragile and unseen. Another simple but significant desire is the need for companionship, for a woman who truly understands him, even when he doesn't have the words to express everything he's feeling. Men want to be seen as more than providers or protectors. They want to be seen as whole, complex beings with hopes, fears, and vulnerabilities. This desire isn't shallow. It's about connection. It's about feeling like he has a partner who sees him as a person, not just a role he plays. The companionship he craves isn't just about spending time together, but about sharing a deeper understanding of each other. He wants a relationship where both partners bring their authentic selves to the table and feel safe doing so. A man also desires emotional safety, a space where he can be vulnerable without fear of judgment or ridicule. It's a simple desire, yet so often overlooked. Men are taught to be tough, to hold their emotions in check, to never let their guard down. But deep inside, they want to share their inner world. They want someone who will listen without interrupting, who will support them without trying to fix everything. This space of emotional safety doesn't come from grand gestures. It's built from the everyday moments of understanding, the willingness to listen, and the capacity to be patient when he's working through something difficult. The desire for emotional safety is not shallow. It's a call for trust, for a deep and abiding connection that lets him be himself without fear of criticism or rejection. There's also the desire to be needed, to feel like his presence makes a difference. This isn't about ego, it's about purpose. Every man wants to feel like he matters, not just to himself, but to those he cares about. He wants to know that his efforts count, that his contributions are valued, even in the smallest ways. This desire isn't about seeking validation, it's about feeling like his presence in your life brings meaning and importance. And when he feels needed, he feels confident, capable, and connected to something larger than himself. It's the simple need to know that he is truly making a difference, whether it's through his work, his actions, or his love. Lastly, a man wants to feel appreciated for who he is, not just for what he can provide. It's easy to mistake a man's desire for appreciation as a need for praise, but it goes deeper than that. Men want to feel like they are seen for the things that matter to them. The quiet efforts, the moments of giving, the sacrifices that might go unnoticed by others. This desire isn't about seeking constant affirmation. It's about a genuine, heartfelt recognition that the things he does are valued. A simple "I see you" can carry more weight than any grand compliment. His desires may seem simple on the surface, but they speak to the deepest parts of his soul. They represent his need for respect, connection, emotional safety, purpose, and appreciation. These desires aren't shallow. They are the building blocks of a strong, lasting relationship. When you understand and honor these desires, you are nurturing the foundation of a connection that is both deep and enduring. In a world that often values complexity, these simple desires stand as a testament to the truth that the most meaningful things in life are often the simplest ones.